you look back at that draft class now, and it's really getting interesting. Everyone saw Justin Fields playing last night. And, when you have those Thursday night games and things are going as poorly as they're going, everybody's a comedian on Twitter talking about the quality of the game and the quality of the passer, the guys throwing the passes there and, a scoreless half or what have you. But Justin Fields at times looks like, and I saw you tweet about it, he makes that terrific throw and you're like, this is why I can't quit this guy. Yeah. But then you see the rest of it, and it looks like a guy who doesn't look, for most of the time, he does not look like a guy who's going to ever get it. And that might sound unfair, but you do have to make quick judgments in the NFL here. And the question is how long the Bears will stick with him if they're not seeing enough progression. And he's back there, and he's just, yes, there's a bad offensive line. Yes, they don't have a great slew of receivers, but also he's taken 3 and 4 seconds to throw the ball, and he's when he gets off his first read, he freaks out and he runs right directly into pressure sometimes. So there's something that's not clicking for him right now. There was fears about Trey Lance as well when he first started. He didn't really get a chance to get things moving with the team, but the fact that the Niners brought back Jimmy Garoppolo says a lot about what they kind of felt about Trey Lance's development. We've seen Zach Wilson be all over the place as well. And Trevor Lawrence, now you're talking about Trevor Lawrence needing to, they're talking about him like he's going to be better. He's definitely going to be better. I don't think anybody expected Trevor Lawrence in year 2 to still be looking like a guy who's searching for himself. This was supposed to be a can't miss prospect. Then you throw in Mac. What's going on with this draft class right now? And are you rethinking how you might have felt about them? In Max and a quarterback controversy again, not really. Are you rethinking what we might have thought about this potential draft class before the draft started? Now that you've seen, seen them in action and started capacity to some degree.
I mean, well, one, usually I think it takes like 3 years before you really understand what you have in a prospect. Yeah. You also have to think of the instability that every single one of the rookie passers has had to deal with. Trey Lance obviously was a backup. Now he's hurt. Justin Fields has had a complete organizational shift where the team still doesn't quite look, as functional as you wanted them to be. Again, there's a lot of change for them. Trevor Lawrence obviously had one of the worst head coaching situations in NFL history that he had last year. And now they're still adapting, trying to figure out, what works for them in a new regime. Mac Jones lost his offensive coordinator, his quarterback's coach, his offensive line coach. Like the entire offensive staff is completely different. I know that we love to go to snap judgments and all that stuff in the NFL. And I understand that there's a degree of, well, what have you done for me lately? But none of these guys have had really ideal situations. Like you think of a best case scenario, Andrew Luck, can't miss prospect. He went into a team that was ready to contend for the playoffs. He elevated them for sure, but they had Chuck Pagano, who was a great leader and beloved, obviously had that team at a place where they were at least functional enough that they could put a rookie quarterback in playoff contention with the team around them. Even RG3, when he got into the league, before obviously I think they mishandled him physically, but he was in a system that was perfect for him. And that's when Shanahan all caught on and people were saying, oh, RPOs, read option and all that stuff. When you're in the right system and things are catered to you, that matters a lot. I don't think any of these quarterbacks, Mac is probably in the best position. Zach Wilson's in a great position. He's just struggled with injury, when obviously that organization is rebuilding. And again, Mac had the best situation. He went to the Pro Bowl. He wound up in the playoffs last year. Like that was not even a great Patriots team, but it was good enough that they were at least in position to contend late in the year. So I think it's too early to decide, especially before we even get to the halfway point in the season. A lot of teams no one's had a bye week yet. So I would say pump the brakes a little bit. Again, with Justin Fields, I still don't think he's necessarily being put in a position where he can maximize all his strengths. And when you see guys miss and they look still like they haven't figured it out, you need to be confident to play in this league and at least understand that there's some level of security or consistency, something that you can rely on. For him, that's been his legs, and they don't use his legs. So, at least give him something that you can build on, and then, you start.
They don't use his arm either, but that's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
He just doesn't throw the ball.
Give the guy a shot to do what he's actually good at.
Yeah.
I would say it's too soon to put the jury out, but I think plenty of them have shown promise.
So have shown promise, but it is for when you have quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3 in a draft, and then So, some people even thinking that the Fields could have gone as high as 5 or 6 as well. This was a heavy, quarterback class. It might be too early to turn out the lights completely, but it's definitely fallen a little bit short of expectations. Putting you on the spot here, let's redraft it. What order do they go in?
I think Trevor Lawrence still goes first.
Yep.
He's a freak, man. And we watch him on tape, and he's smart enough. He's got it where you can see he could be a consistent passer. He's just got to get there.
But the and then is the tough question. What happens after Lawrence? And I do think, agree, he's still the guy.
Yeah, I think it's Mac second. I think because now I think people appreciate the consistency that he brings. Like, yes, his decision making has been bad at times, but you look at the other guys and you're like, at least you see him. He can command the offense. Like the Patriots offense looked like it was well oiled and under control for the most part. Like as soon as he got there, were there gaffes and have there been mistakes? Absolutely. But the guy walked in and looked like at least he'd been in the league for a couple of years in terms of how he got everybody on the same
And that
page.
was always the thought. Mac has the highest floor, but you thought other had higher ceilings. Now you're starting to question the ceilings of the other players.
Right. And that's where I think Mac is more not a safe pick, because I really do think he's going to end up being probably the second best quarterback in that class. But yeah, I think he's the guy who would probably go second. Third, it's tough. It's really, really tough because you got Lance and Wilson who have both been injured. Obviously, Field who's been injured, but when he's been on the field, it's been a dumpster fire. Not necessarily all his fault. I would still say Fields second or Fields third, but I think you try to just cater to him more. You put him in a system where you look at what he did in college, like what the Patriots are doing right now. They completely changed what they did in year 2, and they did it to cater to what Mac did in college. What Fields did in college and what he's doing in the NFL, some of it is just not sustainable because they were playing teams where everybody was better than who they lined up against. I get that. But you at least try to put him in similar positions and then adapt to it at the NFL level, and that hasn't happened. So I go Fields third. I go Wilson after that just because we've seen more of him, and I have seen.
And Lance is more of an unknown at this point.
Exactly. Like that's literally the only reason. But yeah, I'd go Lawrence, Jones, Mac. Calling Mac Jones just sounds kind of weird.
Yeah.
Fields, Wilson by default, and Trey Lance.
There you have it. Well,
wait, no, Davis Mills third. Davis Mills third.
That's what I was wondering. Were you gonna pull? Were you gonna go deep?
I knew I was missing somebody.
Yeah,
Davis Mills third. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know, that's insane.
That is crazy.
He's so much fun to watch. If I have to watch anybody from that rookie class, those are the 3 guys I'm going with. It's either Trevor Lawrence. Honestly, I might put Davis Mills above Mac in terms of like most fun to watch. Yeah. That's just because he's letting it rip to Brandon Cooks all the time. It's so awesome to watch. Yeah. But yeah, there we go.